Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. I'm really grateful for all these opportunities, these classes, to teach classes. So I would like to start a little bit introducing myself. I'll introduce the topic of today, and after that, we'll do our drawing exercise. I'm a professional artist, but I have been a professional artist for over 12 years and teaching art for over 8 years. And before that, my career span, I was in the construction engineering, building engineering office, and also I did finance, and I have a degree in professional communication, which I also like because I love writing. But I didn't work much about that professional communication because I found a wonderful world of icon painting and acting pair painting. That was 12 years ago, and I joined the class, and ever since I'm in love with extempore. However, over last few years, I realized that my interest was not so much about painting on my own work, expressing myself, but I found passion in expressing myself as a teacher, as an art instructor. So with this idea in mind, I found, or rather NeuroGraphica found me about 2 years ago. I completed a professional course. It's a 9-month long professional program, and I have a certificate. And I've been teaching NeuroGraphica for over a year. And online, I've been teaching exactly half a year, every week, a few times a week. In addition to my free classes, I also offer professional classes. So if anybody is interested, please visit my website, follow me on Instagram, and I will be teaching more classes in the coming months and hopefully years. So that's about me. And I would like to turn on my presentation and go with our theme of today. So I will share my screen, which I have a short presentation. So as you can see in me, that I show my artwork, NeuroGraphica. It's less of art, it's more like a technique for development, transformation, and balance. So I have some artwork here, but my main artwork where it's my express myself in art is my extempore painting, and my website is lettherebelightart.com. So this is my artwork on the right. And I teach classes in extempore painting now online. So what about the theme today? When I was very surprised as I was researching the origin of New Year in September. I found a new tradition which says beginning New Year in September. Exactly is what it says. Nowadays, it's September is the new January. I was very much surprised by that, but apparently there's a movement, and it's based on the notion that more changes happen in September than actually happens on the 1st of January. If you think about September, the kids are going back to school, and our mindset, and we have been trained from very early age to have back to school mindset. Summer trips are over, and it's time to go back to work, get serious about our work. Evenings are coming earlier, and we're spending more time indoors. It's start of a new season, the fall in the northern hemisphere. Everything changes in September. This September is certainly very different than any other year, but it's obviously an opportunity to have a new start, to start afresh. In fact, the British surveyors found that around 70% of people believe the small changes in September are much easier to implement and achieve than famous New Year's resolution. Those who attended my previous class, Back to School Embracing the Change, was 10 days ago, and this class will find it easy to relate to this session today, change in the beginning of the new year. So what's about this beginning of new year? So many changes happen. Historically, September was a time of harvest, also offering thanksgiving and expressing gratitude to higher forces. Also, many weddings were done, completed after harvest when people were free and they were able to dedicate time more of their own lives rather than harvesting their crops. In the old days, there was also a Christian New Year. The Christian New Year, which was a beginning, and it's still liturgical New Year, begins in September. That probably began with the traditional Jewish New Year that starts in September, typically in September because it's a memorable holiday, Rosh Hashanah. And if you know that Christian history began with a Jewish tradition, it's easy to understand the connection. This year, Rosh Hashanah, Jewish New Year, begins tomorrow, September. Originally, Rosh Hashanah commemorates the creation of the world. Besides being a celebration, it's very much a holiday that has a spiritual significance. Actually, Rosh Hashanah means the head of the year in Hebrew. It's a time of celebration and reflection. Good times that were experienced in the previous year are remembered, and hopes and dreams are cherished and thought about in the coming year. It's also about reflection, repentance, and preparation for other holidays, particularly Yom Kippur, that's coming in 10 days. For those who know that Rosh Hashanah symbols, they've probably known much more than the holiday itself. Traditionally, it's apples and honey, and the rituals is to dip apples into honey, saying and remembering that wishing a sweet, new and sweet year. So in Hebrew it sounds Leshanat Wavu Matuka, which it's in English to good and sweet year. So that's why we're using apples and honey. Also, other very traditional fruit and symbol of Rosh Hashanah is pomegranate. The pomegranate is a beautiful fruit. It has a very short season, but it has an abundance of seeds, which probably we can relate a symbol of abundance, but also the abundance of good deeds that we're supposed to perform during the coming year. Also, a tradition is to blow the shofar, which is a ram's horn, and the symbol of it is to awaken people and call it back to a spiritual thinking, ideas, and experience. And of course, we're going to the famous challah. It's in bread. It's a bread that Jewish people bake every Shabbat, every Saturday. But traditionally, this braided bread is made of long shape. But on the New Year, Rosh Hashanah is a round shape. And also quite often it's started with raisins to reflect a sweetness in the coming year. And the round shape is symbolize the circle, the circularity of time, the coming of time. And all these symbols that you can observe, they're all about shape, round shape that we're going to use today in our drawing. Shana Tova Lunaticam. So now I would like to talk a little bit about NeuroGraphica, and I will switch my camera to the drawing. As you can see here that I have my drawing tools. There's nothing fancy, and luckily NeuroGraphica is a very affordable drawing medium. All you need, I can see, it's a very simple pencil that we can use for coloring. And also I use regular markers, like school markers. It's a little bit fancy. You can use markers. You can use Sharpies and anything else. Or no markers at all. You can draw it with pencils. I will not recommend pens or fine liners at the very beginning because they're quite fine, the fine line. And when I do something, when I show someone with techniques that necessary for today's exercise, you will understand why. NeuroGraphica is a As the name suggests, it combines the two words, neuro, which is related to neurons, the brain cells, and graphica, which is related to graphic representation. Anything we can draw, anything we can even scribble, draw, design. The graphic design, probably not, but graphic art, yes, graphic art. As traditional graphic art, unlike painting or other art, is done with pen, pencils, even pastels. I talk much more about this in the field of NeuroGraphica and the method of NeuroGraphica in my courses, the basic user course, which I am planning to offer in October. They're for complete beginners, and I teach the method of NeuroGraphica, which combines art, which is drawing, plus psychology. We do not draw just for our enjoyment. It could be done, that could be done in neuro art, but we create certain abstract compositions to affect our impression, to create positive changes in our life. Let's put it like that. Its technique and the method of NeuroGraphica is intended for achieving balance, for self-transformation, for other gains, to not only for balancing, but also create changes in your professional life. And you can use it for benefits, use anything in life, from health to hobbies to professional achievements. That's the method of NeuroGraphica. Please do not confuse it with art therapy. If you think about art therapy is something to do with the past, healing, but NeuroGraphica is everything is more like a coaching technique, self-coaching that's directed towards the future. What's so specific about NeuroGraphica that there are three components, and the NeuroGraphica was as a method, even the word was invented and developed by a Russian psychologist, architect, and entrepreneur. It's Pavel Piskarev, Dr. Pavel Piskarev. Most of the information is available in Russian, and there's only this year, it's a little bit more information started appearing in English. If anybody asks me about whether it's possible to learn NeuroGraphica to become an instructor like me, I have this question asked many times, but it's not possible yet in English. The training program is available only in Russian and a little bit in German to become an instructor, but to learn the method of NeuroGraphica, to be a practitioner for your own benefits, it's possible in English. And I teach many courses, and there are a few other instructors who teach in English. So what's important about NeuroGraphica, the method that what we're going to use today? There are three important considerations to produce neurographic drawing. One of them is interconnectedness. So all the elements in a neurographic drawing are connected. There are no separate elements, which reflects interconnectedness of the world. A neurographic are typically in an abstract form of art, but it could be done with a familiar object. It could be done as a combination and a representational art, representative with objects. That's also possible. Okay, leave, for example, incorporated in the drawings. So all the elements are connected. And they are connected by neurographic lines. Neurographic line is probably one of the main assets and characteristics of NeuroGraphica. I can tell you that even by learning the neurographic line alone, it's possible to create many changes in life. and improve one's life dramatically, or just for enjoyment. It's a long theory how to draw the line, which I can't explain everything about the line, but for the class today only, I would like to offer a definition. The neurographic line is the line that doesn't repeat itself and in every segment, and it extends where we do not expect to see it. So it's unpredictable. We have a direction, I would say like this, definite direction when we draw the line, but the line, its path of the line is not predictable because it has no pattern. A straight line like this has a pattern, equal like this, and like this, and like this, all equal, and we know how to, when we extend it, it doesn't change. Even if we turn it, it's still a straight line. Similar with the ornament. For example, like this, there's elements that repeat themselves, and we know how to extend the next one, how to continue with this pattern. Like wave lines, so these are not neurographic lines. So the line that we're going to work today, make sure that when you draw, is you observe that the pattern doesn't repeat itself. So all the lines that we're going to draw today will be neurographic lines. Put your marker on the page and draw the line, curvy or wavy line, you may describe it, and you do not repeat it. So it has no pattern. It has a very important meaning, the line. Why we draw this kind of line? Because we're trying to bypass the analytical mind, like what we call the conscious mind, and to get access to our subconscious mind. And this line, the neurographic line, that resembles lines that exist in nature, like lines like you can imagine cracks, dry soil, cracks in the wall, and you maintain your building, the cracks that appear on the walls, or lightning, or leaves. If you look on the side of the leaf, they are similar, but then they're not the same. So the nature doesn't repeat itself. Similarly, the neurographic line, we're trying to learn this language of nature, how to communicate with the subconscious mind. As another element that I need to share before we start drawing is the figure of the circle. The circle that we are going to work with today. As I mentioned, all the elements today is the apples, the jar of honey, a round hollow, even the shofar, it has a round opening and curved shapes. It's about being around. So the circle is a graphic archetype that deeply ingrained in our mind, in our subconscious mind, in our nature. It represents the sun, the moon. It's everything sacred. There are so many symbols in the world and many spiritual traditions that we talk about circles. You know that the mandalas are circular. Those deities they put in the middle of the circle. The magic circle, the being inside of the circle being protected. Christian saints, they have halos around their heads. Circles represent everything good, positive, perfection, wholeness, a kind of perfect circle, infinity. You can draw a circle around, and never come to an end. There is no beginning, no end. I would mention that if you start drawing circles, for example, as a balancing, as a calming techniques, you just keep on drawing circles on the page, like this, one side or another. There is a significance why, whether you draw it in one direction or another, there is a difference, but let's not think about it. But if you start drawing circles and fill the whole page with circles, you will eventually feel some sense of relaxation and balancing. Just making the hand to draw circles, different sizes. That's why of the reasons why we're using the principle of rounding in NeuroGraphica. The principle of rounding is probably one of the main characteristics that you can observe in NeuroGraphic art. If you can see the two lines, use another pencil, intersecting. When they intersect, they create corners, sharp corners. And we introduce rounding. We just go create a small arc and fill it in. There is meaning behind it. First, as you can see, these two lines become connected, which is also important feature of NeuroGraphica, and I mentioned interconnectedness of all the elements. And if we draw on the two-dimensional space, and the lines could exist in three-dimensional space, like for example, like this, when we look like this at them, we don't know whether they're apart or whether they're connected. So this one, rounding, indicates that the two lines intersect. And again, we have this very important element of rounding. Have two lines. When they intersect, they create sharp corners. And the corners, which is like a triangle, it's always an element of, again, by our subconscious mind from the very early age. It probably as long as we know about the circle, this element of a sharp corner is not as friendly as the circle. Subconsciously, it indicates and implies danger, conflict, and it has associated with a negative aspect. If the corner is negative, the circle is positive. So that's why with our own hand, we transform this tension, or maybe negative or aspect that's indicated in this corner, into a positive. We create rounding. And this entire part of the drawing changes its character. The best, I would say, you will notice it yourself when we start drawing, because many report changes that happen when we start rounding those lines, the intersections and corners. That's theory, as far as you know enough for our drawing. And now I would like you to invite you to start drawing. If we have no questions, you can take any color that you prefer, any marker, a simple one. Traditionally, I prefer drawing with black. Firstly, it's like more like tradition, a habit, and secondly, have the contrast with white paper, and it's easy to show on the drawing on the screen. So we'll include, think about the theme or the topic that we're going to draw today with your particular one. We know that Rosh Hashanah is coming tomorrow. Yes, as a holiday that brings more idea of not only celebration, but also reflection, repentance. But with this one, as NeuroGraphica, we'll always use a theme, a specific theme for every drawing. We're not drawing just because we want to express ourselves. There's always a theme. think about what you would like to, it could be like a concept of a new beginning, year starting today, of what you desires that you have. Maybe you will think about your hobby, your relationship, your health, or the thought that you can also include, add to your drawing. For me, I was, for example, I'm thinking about teaching as my theme. Yes, I've been an art instructor for a long, long time, for over 8 years, even for instructor of NeuroGraphica for over a year. But at the same time, this particular September brought something new into my teaching, and that new, and I would like to support that new beginning, new beginning. Okay. And of course, I approach this topic with love. I love teaching. It's something I discovered that I mentioned that I love it more than even in art. So that will be my theme. It's just I'm sharing with you, so you can think about it as an example. And how I will start drawing about it. You're welcome to follow me, like creating a similar composition, but you can also add your own elements. So you're not restrained to your to my drawing. So what I'm thinking about it, mine for specific, I would probably draw first. I will think about the shofar as a beautiful lines, and that was probably that the symbol for me is it's like a calling. Either shofar, the call of shofar, is calls us to something that I felt a calling in relation to my teaching. And also shofar for me, I practice. I have a spiritual practice that I work with, and I so it's not just teaching is not just for me. It's much more than a hobby. It's my time, but also could be expressed as spiritual practice. Yes, I would like to mention the NeuroGraphica could be viewed as spiritual practice. And I draw the line. Like, for example, I have a shofar here. What are other elements? I'm thinking about apples. And I put the circles. I just use symbols. It's not a realistic drawing. Your circles could be ovals. It could be more egg shaped, or you don't need to draw a specific apple. Yeah, we're just using the element. And I place a few apples here next to it. So what's also interesting in the method of NeuroGraphica, since it's abstract art, we can see through the objects. Yes, the apples, and I can even indicate that's an apple. One apple has a stem. At first, I'm just placing an objects for my composition. I'm thinking about it. Okay, so that I'm filling the page with the object. I will, of course, a column. I'll place it right behind. Uh, what else? So we can also place uh, a jar and pomegranate. And I place probably pomegranate here. And maybe a cut to show the seeds. I still have room. If you want, you can add more elements. Like for example, dates are also sweet. We can place a few dates. So this could be considered a sketch for our composition. Now we'll begin to add elements of NeuroGraphic line. Also, as another interesting, so with NeuroGraphica, we don't use an eraser. If you think about an idea, if you think about life, yes, it's like our life. We can't use an eraser and eliminate something from our life. We can't press a delete backspace key and delete it completely. The same with NeuroGraphica. You drew the lines, yes, it's like life, and we have to continue with that line. So that's why I'm not even using a pencil to create a sketch. Please, just the paper. So do not worry about it. You can do it again, and we are not spoiling anything. Now I would like to work a little bit more on the elements, and I'm adding NeuroGraphic lines. As I mentioned before, that all the elements NeuroGraphic lines, and they are connected. And I use this rounding, the element of rounding, to connect the elements. How many lines? As many as you feel like. That's idea that and the criteria for drawing NeuroGraphica. When you feel you work with the drawing until you feel satisfied with it, until you feel some changes in your way of working on our positive changes. They could be very subtle, but we work on the NeuroGraphic art drawing as long as we feel like, until we are satisfied with it. But the idea of NeuroGraphica is not to produce artwork. That could be the case. No problem with it. Producing NeuroGraphic art drawing doesn't contradict anything. But the idea is to create something that change within yourself. Like you, the artist, is the artwork, not the drawing. So my stylized elements. So it's another element of NeuroGraphic. You can see that I draw the lines outside the picture, outside the images themselves. That's the idea of interconnectedness of the world. So this is some idea, like for example, my project, me, and those lines indicate my connection to the environment, to the world. So with these elements, like for example, how to treat pomegranate. How can I draw the seeds? I will just continue drawing NeuroGraphic line and will fill the space with more dense, more NeuroGraphic lines. Just fill it with the various NeuroGraphic lines. When you notice that I probably draw two lines together on top of each other, very close together, not exactly repeating the pattern. That's my style. One of them is my style that I draw with a maybe find a marker, many lines over the same line. That's part of it. One my style, and secondly is And NeuroGraphica is not minimalist drawing. Actually, the more lines we draw, the stronger the drawing. I mentioned that NeuroGraphica works with the subconscious mind and developing new habits. So that's why drawing more lines create a stronger connection. And at the same time as I'm drawing, lines, I also rounding intersections. So there's another what I also do. You see that here I had a like almost transparent drawing. First, I had a challah in the background. Then I had a jar, a honey, and then I have a pomegranate on top of it. What I'm doing here, I incorporate those lines and hide them in the lines that symbolize the seeds and the pomegranate. It's almost like it disappears. So now I would like to do similar what I did with the pomegranate. I would like to work with color. The color that I mentioned the braided bread, and I created similar lines. You're welcome create a pattern if you think about the pattern, but I would just, for simplicity, add a few neurographic lines on the surface of it to indicate those unevenness braid and parts in the hollow bread, and I connect them. So all this for the jar and pomegranate, I connect them to the elements to the background. As we add the colors later, we'll probably be able to make the elements more obvious. Is anyone you would like to share what you're experiencing by drawing in this style using very curvy neurographic lines and rounding the elements? Are you experiencing any difference compared to other drawings, other styles? Okay, that's probably, I would say that's probably enough lines for now. I'm going to work a little bit more on this drawing with the lines. Colors, it's what you, no restrictions, please use your intuition, please use your personal preferences. You don't need to look at me. You can make it realistic, you can make it less realistic, any color that you feel like drawing. I will start maybe with, I'd say I will add with yellow and orange. Yellow and orange are always joyful and nice colors. Yellow, the color of the sun. Is my only suggestion. Okay, thank you. I find it to be very common. I find it to be very meditative, intuitive, and forgiving. Yes, this kind of drawing, specifically, we are not solving when we didn't make any requests. We don't have any conflict. We don't have any concerns or issues when we started with this drawing. It's like exactly. It's like yes, I would say intuitive, meditative style of drawing. And also the line that I showed, I kind of they're very like flowing meditative lines. It will be very different if I used different amplitude, different lines, which is also a part of NeuroGraphica when we can create different. Um, I don't know. It's not stream of consciousness drawing. No, it's coming. Yes, it's coming. But as you know, but the line itself, it's not just we have to be constantly watchful and attentive to the line. It's like meditation. It's like being aware at every moment. That kind of drawing the line, the neurographic line, helps with this state. And just bring the colors, like I just indicate the colors. They're not the final colors. I love coloring. NeuroGraphica traditionally is drawn in pencils, but you're welcome to use for NeuroGraphic Art. You're welcome to use paint as well. I may offer a class when I'll be painting NeuroGraphica. What I use simple. It's watercolor. These are watercolor pencils. So first I draw as watercolor as a pencils, and then I add a little bit of water to create it as transition, as movement. And also I use one of my favorite, the Inktense pencil, Turbine, which is very bright when I added some water. That will probably be great for the pomegranate. You can see I add yellow, like uh, brighter, darker. So I added with the colors, with energy of colors. What's interesting when you I applied yellow, bright red, but now I feel like I I need green, and that's the apple. Possible green apple. So if you feel like I'm adding more values and play with values and create a shape, three-dimensional shape. That's what I'm doing, creating a little bit of space, shape for the green apple. And of course, those dates brown. That could be a little bit of yellow, shiny, and orange. This apple could be orangey. Let's see how it feels to have an orange apple. Orange and reddish apple. Colors also suggest strong energies. They're very deep. Our relationship with the colors at a very deep level. So what I suggest, when you color, just try one color, another color, and experience what are you feeling. Like, notice what you're feeling and start changing. It doesn't have to be a completely realistic drawing. Not at all. It is abstract, but what we're working with our feeling. If you feel like some colors it's too bright or too yellow or too green, start adding complementary colors to offset that feeling. I know that because I have more knowledge of it as I know that this theory behind the energy of colors. So if you know it, the theory of 5 elements, you're welcome to use this as well. A question about do you have to round off the corners in black? Yes. If I was drawing in black, I will use the same marker, pencil, drawing tool that I used for the lines. So if they were red or brown, I would have used the same marker. Yeah, the honey jar. So the honey jar, of course. And I was trying to be realistic and symbolic at the same time. Dark, probably using dark, just to indicate the surface that everything is located on. I will paint it background like a little bit of blue. Blue is not here, so I will add blue color. And maybe the line, I will do like a surface horizontal line, like horizon. It's not everything has to be drawn, painted in colors. You can leave white, the surface white. Actually, it's very nice. It's very nice to have leave white areas because it creates lightness, adds lightness to the drawing. And the recording will be available on the next day. I will edit this class. It will be available on YouTube, and I will send the link to everyone who registered, who participated. And I will also, when I finish my drawing, I will include it in the edited version of the video. And I will also share it in I have a group, and some of you probably in this group, on Facebook group, NeuroGraphic Art and Life, and I'm going to share it there, probably on my Facebook pages as well. Anyone who is following me on Instagram, and I'm going to post it on Instagram. I might, as I'm drawing like this, I may feel that I need more neurographic lines, like to add more lines. It's not necessary, but it's my experience and my personal feeling that when I look at it, I find that something is missing. So if you have an impulse like this to add an element with more lines, please do. For example, like I know the lines are drawn with a thicker marker. I can take a thinner marker to add more lines on this surface, like secondary lines. They're fine and more like, elegant lines. I'm thinking I will also probably add something written on the top of the drawing will be like the Shanatava, but I don't, that will take time, but that's probably what I'm going to do later today. So if you're welcome to, when you see my drawing, you're welcome to add something like this. Add the writing, or you can write, you can incorporate lettering in your drawing in any language. So it doesn't have to be Hebrew. It can be in English or any other language. And to incorporate them into this writing, lettering into the lines, which is part of me. I also use this, like, and I call it neurocalligraphy, using NeuroGraphica and lines at the same time combined together. Now I started adding lines. I'm sorry, I can't stop adding the lines with a fine marker. It's like a contrast between fine lines and thick lines. It's very appealing. So now I started adding it, and I got, oh, I have to stop. Leave it for now. If anybody could see my neurographic drawings, you probably know that I add many lines, so that kind of style. And it's better if I don't do it right now. I'll take time. Okay. Mm-hmm. And when I'm feeling and I'm looking at it and I see that this area is quite warm and bright, and I add a little bit cooler tone of blue and a more like background combination of lilac, pink, and a little bit of blue. I'm planning to offer my next course, free, not course, but a free drawing session will probably be in the middle of October, and I'm thinking of be on the time with the Canadian Thanksgiving, which is the second week in October, and I would like to draw gratitude on the theme of gratitude. That's my next class, and yeah, the question: when I color in the objects, I leave some white space. Yes, that's okay. It's art. You can leave white space, no problem. here darker at the bottom to emphasize the three-dimensional space. And I color at the same time the shape. This is the object of a date. Apply color. I'm applying color on the background and the shape, the dates. You're welcome to continue drawing if you finish your drawing, if you feel like. I will be working on mine a little bit longer, but off the camera. You know that this fruit is quite wrinkly. This is my final drawing for this today's class. What I added, as you can see, I added more lines and intensified colors using intense pencils. That was definitely was aligned, and also I added the title lettering Leshana Tova, which means to good new year. Also white, you know, like a pomegranate, you can see white skin in the seeds. So that's what I added overall, and I make these colors intense. For neurographic drawing, there has to be a couple more elements, but for the purpose of this class, I consider the drawing is complete. Thank you for your attendance, attention, and good luck with your neurographic art. Thank you so much, and I will be offering more free classes, and also I have my courses. So let's stay in touch.